Alright, what is happening at Bethesda? Seriously, this has to be the most confusing time to be a Bethesda fan that I can remember. They're putting out random Starfield updates without warning that don't fix any of the things fans are actually asking for. Bethesda employees have been seen in forums telling people who are unhappy with Starfield that their opinion is just flat out wrong, and it's been 3 months since launch and there's still no word on the DLC. So let's break it down. Firstly, what is going on at Bethesda and what updates are they bringing to Starfield next? Well, we know what update they're bringing to Starfield next, courtesy of a recent post on the Starfield subreddit by Bethesda that states they're looking to roll out features and bug fixes early next year. They say, quote, "We're also hard at work on many of the new features you asked for, from city maps to mod support to all new ways of traveling. Stay tuned. These will be rolling out with a regular cadence of fixes and updates we expect to have roughly every 6 weeks. If something can be done in a smaller hotfix in between, like the asteroid, and we feel it's safe, we'll get one of those out as well. Safe is the key here. We do take a lot of time to test even the smallest change in a game this large and dynamic." Now, this communication is promising as we've not had much of it since launch as compared to other devs, but really the only exciting thing they mention here for me is the changes to traveling. And they didn't really elaborate on this either, like this could be something game changing, like letting us fly around a planet's surface, or even give us land vehicles to make on foot stuff a bit more exciting. Or it could be something completely boring, like speeding up the load screens or removing fuel limitations. Frankly, no elaboration was given, which suggests Bethesda really need to hire some sort of marketing team. Seriously, like, is everyone just on holiday, or maybe they've been let go after the release of Starfield, but they honestly need a comms plan because most fans have no idea what's happening next with Starfield. Most people are not checking the Discord or the subreddit. And the problem with that is they don't know how excited to be. Like, should we be excited for the change to traveling, or should we lower our expectations in case it turns out to be nothing and we're just bitterly disappointed? We need more communication. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer has actually supported the game more than Bethesda themselves, which is crazy. Spencer has actually said recently he wants this to be a game people play for 12 years. But so far, it really doesn't feel like it. As much as I love the game, and I really do love this game, we've had 0 substantial content updates in 3 months. Now, I know this isn't a live service game, so we can't expect weekly free updates. But if they want us to play this game as long as we played Skyrim, which came out in 2011 and is still doing pretty well, they need to start adding things in, and quickly. Not huge stuff, just reasons to jump back in. And look at Baldur's Gate 3 for a great example. Numerous free updates have added things like Christmas-themed missions, jiggle physics for things I can't really mention here, and even one that gives players access to a boss's clothes, since everyone wanted to wear them. Larian said, "Okay, you could wear this boss's clothes. Go ahead, this outfit is now an equipable item." They listened to the fans and gave them what they wanted. And pretty quickly as well. There is really no such equivalent in Starfield, despite Bethesda having an amazing track record. Another example of great game updates post-launch lies with Ubisoft. Now, they got their problems, but they're really good at this sort of thing. Assassin's Creed Mirage is barely a few days old before it gets some DLC in the shop, be it new outfits, mounts, birds, weapons, consumables, that sort of thing. And, you know, they do cost money, but it proves to the player one very important thing. The developers are still working on this game, they're still supporting it, and that the game is still alive. Most devs give you a roadmap of content as well, often showing you a glimpse of what to expect when you stick around. And guess what this makes the player do? Stick around. Conversely, all Starfield has said of the game's future is that there's a DLC coming called Shattered Space, and this is news we've known since before launch. They haven't said what type of DLC Shattered Space is or even when it's coming, so we just have to take their word for it. This is why I think Bethesda has a communications problem, and something that illustrates this point perfectly are the issue of weapon skins. There are no weapon skins in the game, yet there's a dedicated tab in the weapons workbench for adding weapon skins. A dedicated tab you can't even use because there aren't any weapon skins. This has puzzled players, me included, since Starfield's release. Like, people are thinking maybe Bethesda Bethesda is adding them in later, and some even think they themselves are doing something wrong because they just can't find these skins, like maybe they're looking in the wrong place, but no, it's because Bethesda didn't explain it and have said 0 words about weapon skins. You're not playing the game wrong, Bethesda are doing their post-launch support wrong. Now, I don't want to be too harsh on Bethesda here, as Starfield is a great game, as I say, and I have sunk hundreds of hours into this, but let's be honest, it's full of glitches. There are bad glitches like the one that causes your game to freeze after you've made too many saves, and there are good glitches like the one that gives you free access to a vendor's entire stash by peering into a puddle on the floor. That's my personal favourite, and guess which one Bethesda has fixed? Yes, the good glitch, the one where you get a bunch of free weapons. You can't get any free weapons or armour anymore because that glitch is now removed, but the glitch that causes your game to freeze, which affects tons of players, is still present. So I say again, what is Bethesda doing? Glitches that upset the balance of the game and give you a bunch of free gear really aren't all that damaging in a single player game. Not when you're really playing on your own and you're not really impacting anyone else's experience. But on the other hand, glitches that literally stop you playing the game you paid for need to be fixed as a priority. Like, get your team working around the clock to fix this stuff. In short, Bethesda, I think, really need to sort out their priorities. So what could be the reasons for this? Maybe it's got something to do with the upcoming Fallout series. Bethesda have been fully hands-on with developing this show because they want it to be authentic to the game, and this comes out next year. Like, Todd Howard's name is literally named in the opening slate of the trailer, so there's no way he didn't move off Starfield at some point to focus his efforts on this. Without Howard spearheading the direction of Starfield, maybe that explains why it seems so directionless. He probably guided Starfield through the majority of its development, but then jumped onto the production of the Fallout series and wasn't able to devote time to getting the post-launch content for Starfield ready, and helping prep the next wave of DLC. So that's one possible explanation. Another one is that Bethesda are just straight up getting ready to abandon Starfield. Now, personally, I don't think this is the case. It's quite far-fetched, as this is the game they've literally spent a decade making at great cost, and it sold millions. According to sales figures, it's the biggest launch in Bethesda history, with 6 million players during week 1, then a massive 10 million players less than 3 weeks after the game came out. It's obviously got less players now, as a lot of people have put it down. This is a single player game and not an MMO, but still, it's in a lot of players' hands and it's ready to be picked up again. Critically though, it's far from the smash hit Bethesda thought it would be, and it hasn't really seemed to have caught on culturally like Fallout or The Elder Scrolls has. Like, you don't really see people diving into the lore of this game or talking about their favourite characters and getting really into it, like with Baldur's Gate 3, for example. The number of people obsessed with Starfield doesn't seem all that high. It wasn't nominated in the Game Awards as one of the top 5 games of the year, which for Bethesda is a travesty, so maybe they won't be as motivated to continue supporting it. But as I say, that's an unlikely explanation because this game is now in the hands of millions of players, and that equates to millions of potential buyers when they finally release DLC. And honestly, if they don't capitalize on that, something is seriously wrong. Let's remember, this is not the first time they've turned a situation from bad to good. The Fallout 76 launch was a disaster a few years ago. The game barely even worked, and when it did, it was lacking a lot of content people expected. But Bethesda turned it around through constant updates, and they drew a lot of people back in. And I know this is a slightly different case with Starfield as compared to Fallout 76, because that is a live service game and not an offline single player game. But still, I mean, if Sniper Elite 5 can give away a winter-themed weapon skin for free, you would have thought a massive studio like Bethesda could throw us a bone. And I fully expect them to support this game for the next decade, just as Phil Spencer has said. Because let's face it, Starfield is a great game. They would be weird not to. They released an update for Skyrim in December 2023, and this is a game that came out in 2011. So they do have a history of supporting very old games. It's just really the lack of communication and the clear roadmap that I have a problem with, and this seems like a rather big downgrade for a company that's usually really good at this sort of thing. They've built up a ton of goodwill and a loyal fan base, but as much as I love Starfield, the way they're handling it at the moment is falling short of expectations. The post on that subreddit that I mentioned at the start is a really good first step, but you know, we just need a bit more of that. Anyway, that's what I think of the current state of Starfield. How about you? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, consider sponsoring me over at patreon.com/gamingwithgriffin.